All right, we are back. It is still April 9th and we're still sensible after. And we're taking up H401 and we have the reporter of the bill. You may not know everyone around the table, so we'll introduce ourselves and then we'll have you introduce yourself and give us your testimony about the bill.
Senator Larry Hart, Orange County.
Senator Saul Weeks County.
Ginny Lyons, Chittenden Southeast. Ann Cummings, Washington District. And Senator Martine Gulick is from Chittenden North, and she'll be right back in. Thank you for being here. And why don't you give us kind of a big overview of the bill? Katie will go through the section by section with us.
Great.
Introduce yourself for the record.
Yes, thanks for having me, Adam. For the record, I'm Representative Greg Bird. And gave a report on H401. I have what I reported to the House floor. It's pretty short, actually. If you prefer that I just read that.
That's whatever you feel is going to help us understand the bill from
Sure.
your perspective.
All right. So H401 is an act relating to exemptions for food manufacturing establishments, as passed by the House Committee on Agriculture, Food Resiliency, and Forestry. It proposes to exempt a food manufacturing establishment's gross annual receipts of less than $30,000 from licensing fees. It further proposes to exempt from licensing requirements an individual manufacturing and selling bakery products from the individual's own home kitchen where the individual has gross annual receipts of less than $30,000. Section 1 of the bill outlines the intent of the bill, that Vermont enhances food resiliency through increased supply and distribution of locally produced food products, that Vermonters have more access to the local food marketplace as both producers and consumers. The local food producers are able to meet the demand for Vermont-made food products from visitors to the state. And then a number of other things that relate to that. The existing statute, so if we go to section 2, it would amend 18 VSA 4353. The existing statute sets licensure fees for food establishments, which include different fees for non-bakeries and bakeries. Subdivision 3A for non-bakeries currently sets a fee of $175 for gross annual incomes between 10 and 50,000. 275 for over 50,000. And then the current statute implies that there's no license or licensure fees for non-bakeries earning under $10,000 annually. H401 proposes that gross annual incomes of non-bakeries over 30,000 pay a fee of $275. Non-bakeries earning 30,000 or less be broken into 2 categories depending on whether the non-bakery operates out of a home kitchen. Non-home kitchen would be $175. Home kitchens are exempt from licensure fees. Subdivision 3B outlines statute for bakeries. Currently, home bakeries pay a fee of $100 and small commercial bakeries pay $200. Large commercial bakeries pay $350. And this is a lot of this explaining fees, but that is the main thing that this bill does is adjust the fees and limits on income. But the language in section 4358 states that the chapter does not apply to home operated bakeries earning $6,500 a year or less, meaning that they are exempt from licensure and licensure fees. So H401 would proposes home bakeries with gross receipts over $30,000 pay a fee of $100. Small commercial bakeries pay $200. Large commercial bakeries pay $350. Bakeries earning $30,000 or less is broken into 2 categories, depending on whether the non-bakery operates out of a home kitchen. Non-home kitchen bakeries pay $50. Home kitchen bakeries would be exempt from licensure fees. The final thing, section 3. Amends 18 VSA 4358B, clarify that licensure and licensure fees do not apply to a food manufacturing establishment, whether it's a bakery or non-bakery, operating in a home kitchen whose average gross retail sales are less than or equal to $30,000 per year. The main thing is, so originally there was a cap of $6,500 on home bakeries, where if you made over that, then you are subject to an inspection. I believe based on conversations with the health department that you would be subject to needing a commercial kitchen and with a 3-day sink, all that. So the costs of operating and starting that business would go up dramatically. So the idea was to adjust for inflation for these businesses, so that they could operate in a current economy and still maybe go a bit. With $6,500, we did rough calculation, and the statute capped it at $125 a week. So you couldn't do one event where you made $6,500 over a weekend. It was you could not go past $125 in a single week, which is roughly 5 or 6 pies baked at this point and sold. And if you factor in what somebody's profit might be at that point, like their take-home pay, they're making very little off it. So we want to make sure that we're not that we have statute in place that makes this a viable form of income for folks.
So who did you hear from for testimony on this?
Yep. So we heard from the sponsor of the bill. We heard from the Legislative Council, Office of Legislative Council, Deputy Commissioner from the Vermont Department of Health, Fiscal Analyst from the Joint Fiscal Office, Legislative Director from Rural Vermont, Partner of Hoppy Valley Farm, and Senior Environmental Health Program Manager. And it was voted out of our committee unanimously at 8-0.
And then was it a voice vote on the floor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Questions? Go ahead.
You mind if I sub box what I didn't?
Yes. So
Okay.
come back to that.
All right.
Come back to that. Any questions? So do you know the last time this was changed? Any of these fees or the income limits were changed? Well, we'll get to Ledge Council. We'll have Ledge Council.
I believe it was 2018, but
Okay.
I'm not 100% on that. Yeah.
We certainly had inflation big time since then.
Yeah.
Okay. Beside having a request for soapbox, are there any questions?
Well, I think we can.
No.
You seem to know each other, so you're in the same district?
No, it's similar. Any day.
Okay.
We met on the campaign trail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good place to be.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, thank you. This has been great. And we'll hear from Ledge Council and see what we're gonna do with it.
Appreciate
Doesn't
it.
seem like a heavy lift to me, actually.
I hope it's an easy decision for you. I know I personally am a farmer and operate a small commercial bakery at our farm, and
I think good pies.
we do actually, we make, our specialty is cider donuts. We have an apple orchard.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay.
but we do sell apples.
What's the name of your farm?
Bert's Apple Orchard
Oh, okay.
up in Cabot. Yeah.
Oh, I think, well,
I've said it, you like, yeah, nice to meet you.
See,
yes.
my family is competitors.
Oh, that was the soapbox we were gonna.
No, that was actually
Okay,
not the
sure.
soapbox.
All right, all right.
No, I just want to talk about why I like this bill. It's
I knew you were gonna do that. We'll get there. This is good.
rooting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the kind of bill that we like.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, it's the kind of bill. All right, so Katie,
I'll have to come up and buy it.
Walk us
So I
through it.
can
You've done a
make
good job.
You're saying.
Representative Burke's
I
done a
love
good
that
job.
stuff.
I know you.
You know that, didn't
Yeah.
you?
For myself, yeah.
Yeah.
Katie McGlynn, Office of Legislative Counsel. To answer the question about when was it the section last
Yeah.
amended? It was last amended in 2017. However, I don't know what the amendment was. If it was to the fee, it could be a technical correction. So without going through the whole list of every time it's been amended and pulling up the act and looking
You
at it,
won't do that.
I could do it.
No, it's okay.
Okay, let me pull up the act itself. Go. Okay, so here is Act 401. As you've heard, this bill does two things. One is it increases the threshold before which somebody needs to obtain a license from the Department of Health. Also, as the committee was walking through this, as I was working with the language, the existing language is a bit confusing. I reached out to the health department and they also said that they had found it a little bit confusing in terms of who is carved in and who is carved out. So there's an effort here to be a little bit clearer as to who needs to receive a license and who doesn't need to receive a license. So first we have a legislative intent section. I know that often you like to say that to read to yourself. Would you like me to go through it, or I'm happy to?
No, I think generally it is supporting local businesses in the local marketplace and encouraging the use of local foods.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Small scale development.
So section 2, this is, right now we're in a chapter in Title 18 about food and lodging establishments, and the health department oversees and licenses food and lodging establishments. So in terms of fees, we have a food manufacturing establishment fee. So this is a fee to get a license.
That will come to us.
Yeah.
This
will make
right
all
now
the
the Hall of Finance.
So right now, we have language that if there are gross receipts between $10,001 and $50,000, the fee is $175. Gross receipts over 50,000 is $275. That's being lowered to 30,000. So there would only be if there's gross receipts from a non-bakery over $30,000, the annual licensing fee would be $275. And Roman numeral 2, we're breaking the category of establishments receiving up to or 30,000 or less into two categories, depending on whether they're produced at home or not. So a non-home operated food service establishment with gross receipts at 30,000 or less is $175.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
So I know that in Franklin County, there's the central food processing place where you can go and you can do your canning and make all your goods and then have them for sale.
Mhm.
Is that covered with the non-home operated food services?
It's,
Or is that?
I would say it's a better question for the health department, but if
Department of
it's not
Health. I
being
look at that.
operated out of somebody's home,
Yeah,
I would interpret it to be a non-home food operated.
yes, okay. But so the question is that if I'm taking my apples and make pie
Mhm.
and, or I'm gonna can some strawberry jam, I'm
Mhm.
gonna do it there.
Mhm.
Do I have to pay $175? I'll ask the help.
I would ask the health department.
Okay,
The fact that it's not at your home.
Yeah.
Suggests that
Okay.
yes. And then for the home operated food service establishment for non-bakeries with gross receipts of 30,000 or less, they are exempt from a license under this section and they don't have to pay a fee. There is a typo here, so if you decide to move
we
this
can do
forward,
an amendment.
yes, you would need an amendment. So if you see on line 11, food manufacturing establishment, but then on lines 15 and 18, I used food service establishment. So it should be the same term throughout. Food manufacturing establishment, so typo there. So this has all been about non-bakeries, and then we switched to bakeries. So this clarifies that a home bakery with gross receipts over $30,000 would pay $100. Small commercial bakery would pay $200, large commercial would pay $350, no change there. And then, again, just like we saw above, dividing those bakeries that are earning up to $30,000 into two groups, depending on whether they're operated at home. So non-home operated bakery with gross receipts of $30,000 or less has an annual fee of $50.
Good.
And then if it's home operated, earning under $30,000 a year, it is exempt pursuant to the next section. And then in section 3, this is the section that had been a little bit confusing. If you can sort of ignore the underlining and look at just the strike through, it had said that the provisions of this subchapter, not sure which provisions, just provisions generally, shall not apply to an individual manufacturing and selling bakery products from his or home kitchen, but it didn't say anything about non-bakery products from a person's kitchen. So this is meant to try to clarify. So the licensure requirements and the related licensure fees in this subchapter shall not apply to a food manufacturing establishment operating from a home kitchen whose average gross retail sales are less than or equal to $30,000 per year. So it's meant to capture the same information that we looked at in the previous section, and hopefully now it is consistent. Okay, that's it. July 125.
Okay, so committee, all those changes, questions for Kate, huh?
It's doing nothing with health standards or requirements.
Well, I think the testimony you'd hear from the health department is that the fees do impact
Yes.
health because if somebody is not getting a license, they're not subject to the same inspection. So by lifting the cap, that
There's more things that are
Exactly.
not going to be subject to health department for inspection.
yes,
Like Richard does at Burt's Donuts.
Increase risk.
Yeah. Or like pies and jam, right? Sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if your dog in your kitchen when you're, right. Your cat on the counter. Many of them.
Food manufacturing establishment, what's the, like, the legal definition of that? Because if you're, you know, let's just say an older widow, you know, who's just trying to get some additional money for their rent or to,
Yeah.
you know, pay the mortgage or whatever, and they want to bake like 10 pies a week, whatever, and then sell them at the local fair or whatever, would that older widow qualify as a food manufacturing establishment?
here's the definition.
So first, I don't think.
Food manufacturing establishment or food processor means all buildings, rooms, basements, cellars, lofts, or other premises or part thereof used, occupied, or maintained for the purpose of manufacturing, preparing, packing, canning, bottling, keeping, storing, handling, serving, or distributing food for sale. A food manufacturing establishment shall include food processors, bakeries, distributors, and warehouses. Food manufacturing establishment shall not include a place where only maple syrup and maple products are prepared.
Guess who has a lobby in this?
So Title VI is ag and this is in Title 18.
Okay,
So you got it?
yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
cross-reference. So ag and health and welfare get together on some of these things.
Yes, they do.
So it's pretty broad.
It's very
Yeah. You got it?
I had a friend who made chocolate chip cookies
Yeah.
and she was under health regulations in her kitchen and she sold them at
Think about
with
Terry.
the farmer's market or the co-op.
Yeah,
But she did.
go ahead.
I also have a question that I don't know if you'll be able to answer, Katie, it might be better for Cooper. For under B section, Roman numeral 4, non-home operated bakery with gross receipt 30 or less, the $50 fee. Is there a reason why there's still a $50 fee versus home operated bakery, which is no fee at all? I'm assuming non-home operated bakeries can be like if you rent out a shared space in a commercial kitchen, you know, commercial kitchens will rent out their kitchen to like dozens of different establishments. Use the same, use the same kitchen and share it. Is there a reason why there's even a $50 fee at all, or?
Do you want?
Did you answer, or do you want Department of Health to answer that?
Well, feel free to do so. I mean, I felt like there could have been some consolidation of fee structure in this process myself, but I didn't want to get involved in that too much. And, I don't think our committee wanted to, address that so much, but it seemed like from our conversations that, part of the fee, there being a fee gets, it's an easier process to ensure that, these home kitchens or non-home operated bakeries and kitchens are getting licensed, first of all, and connecting with the Department of Health. That having a fee involved, it helps to establish that connection, first of all, instead of somebody just starting to operate and never contacting the Department of Health. That was mine, but
I would also add that there was a conversation about having a parallel structure between bakery and non-bakery products, and the non-bakery products has a fee also for non-home. So I think the idea of having more parallel worlds between bakery and non-bakery products was part of the conversation.
So we'll get the Department of Health in and maybe they can help.
I know the
understand.
department, I received an email from the department and I think they're hoping to float an alternative proposal. So you probably
good.
will be receiving that.
We'll schedule those next week. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
if I might add one thing, so in my case where I operate a small commercial bakery, it's not in my home, obviously. But if it was small enough, I do believe they would have called it a non-home. That's right, non-home operated bakery, and then my fee would have been lower. But because I do enough sales that they believe that I shouldn't be considered a small commercial kitchen, so don't necessarily like it's a physical building, like a farm stand that I constructed. So it's not necessarily like a collective place,
Right.
Like a food hub. So it might be on at the same premise of farm or whatever. And it could be anywhere.
Yeah.
It could be on in the village. It's a business, but anyway, just wanted to clarify. I think it's just a smaller scale where they decided you're even below small commercial kitchen.
Right. Well, and we certainly know there are economic pressures, but it does get to my previous question about, the place in Franklin County. It could be that you have a big enough spot that somebody else can come in and manufacture food, and the question, then that's their license, the fee that they have to pay to work in your kitchen. I don't know what all is being thought of there with the Department of Health, but we will bring them in and find out. And so the question for the committee is, do you want to continue with this bill? Continue to work on it?
Yeah, I think you should.
Good.
You know my answer.
Yeah. Oh, no, you don't want to do it because it's combined and volume. We're good. No, I think that's great. So we'll thank you for coming in on this, both of you. I mean, you didn't speak to it, but it sounds like you're a supporter. So we'll come back to this next week and we'll bring Department of Health in and sort out how quickly we can move it, sit down and finance. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Do I-
No, you do not.
Thank you.
Pontification. Okay, so now we're on the next bill, which is 259. Is it 259?
I think so.
It is 259. Yeah. Here we are. We're looking at the, did we have any changes in this, Katie?
You have not asked me for any.
Were there any that were asked for from our folks who had testified? I don't think there were.
We have a grammatical change that was requested by the editors.
Scrivener's error and you can fix it.
It wasn't fixed on the outside, so it needs to be fixed on the.
What is it?
Changing all time to all times.
Yes.
So that will be our proposal amendment, or do we do a strike off of that? Well, it's your suggestion, or is it simply a technical correction?
Can I move approval, including the Scrivener's correction?
No, we should present it as a floor amendment with no notice on the calendar.
No, what can we do with that?
I can give you a one word change. You know, or we could talk to the Senate secretary in advance and see if they'd be willing to change it.
Thank you.
Sometimes they can correct the Scrivener's error. I think if we know about it in advance, though, you might be telling us.
If we
that-
know about it in advance, we need to have an amendment with it. Okay, now, the question is, do we do it with the one-time times? Or do we have a strike off for that one word? So why don't we just do an amendment changing, where is the word, Katie?
Let's see, page 2
On page 2,
or A. Line 8 shall be present at all times.
security plan requires. To be present at all times. Why? What's wrong with that?
It's times. I don't know why, but I know it's times.
All time, all time. All
Oh,
times.
All is plural.
Is that acceptable?
You did receive feedback from Disability Rights Vermont
Okay,
about adding a self-advocate or patient advocate on, am I sharing my screen? I'm not. I should do that.
no. I did hear that. I did get feedback that that was not necessary.
Okay.
So I think let's not, I'm, okay, unless we want to continue to take testimony, I think we leave that for now and see how it works.
Okay.
So Senator, could you make your proposal of amendment, please, and then vote yes or no?
What proposal of amendment?
You move to change the word time
To the times in the lines and numbers. The page you gave us, line 8.
So I'll give you just a, I can't think of what the word is. Not a strike all amendment, an instance of amendment. I'll just
An
create
instance.
one
Yes.
instance of amendment for you. Okay.
I'll second it.
Good. Discussion? All, okay, clerk?
I think you can do that on a voice vote.
Yes. Can we do it on a voice vote? All those in favor of that proposal amendment? All right.
Oh, I think, can you say that?
Okay, good. Now, the bill as amended,
I moved the bill as amended.
just second? Okay, got all seconding. Clerk, discussion?
Say yes or no when I call your name. Senator Hart.
Yes.
Senator Fryman.
Yes.
Yes. Senator Bueller.
Yes.
Senator Long.
Yes.
Yes.
But want to record it? I don't even know what it is.
It's fine.
Yeah, I can.
It's your turn.
Good.
I love this bill. I worked hard on it, but I want you to record it
Okay.
because you're the.
Yeah, if sometime this afternoon, if you can get me a copy of what I
Yeah.
just amended and a clean copy of the bill,
Okay.
just leave it with Charlotte and I'll take it.
And you can
Okay.
take it upstairs to the.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna be running tonight. I've got to
It'll be one
here
okay.
time to get to
Go ahead, get to your meeting.
Stowe this afternoon and I've got to get to. my-
We're adjourned. Thank you all. Good
Okay,
work.
thank you.